Well, I would like to welcome you to Lesson 3. We've done Lesson 1 and 2, and I hope in those two lessons you've gotten the basics of Excel. The vocabulary by now should come to you very smoothly, and when you as a teacher, an educator, or whatever your profession is, when you get up in front of an audience and you talk about Excel, there are certain terms that should flow out of your mouth almost without thought, and that is ribbon, which is up here, workbook or worksheet, which is here in the center, status bar, which is down at the bottom, formula bar, which is up here, the help icon, rows, columns, and cells. Okay, so those are phrases that really articulate the structure. For instance, if you go to an interview of a school district that, let's say, is in Florida, and they say, have you ever taught Excel? Can you talk about the main features of Excel, or at least the main components? And you say ribbon, formula bar, status bar, worksheet, column, row, cell, and help menu. They basically will be convinced right away you know exactly what you're talking about. So get those vocabulary words into your speaking. This particular lesson is going to cover formulas. And a formula, it's basically a big word for a mathematical equation. That's really what a formula is. And so, for those of you who are teaching to kindergartners, and yes, you can teach this to kindergartners, you don't have to use the word formula. You can just say math problem. Excel does math problems. But for those of you who are teaching 7th grade all the way up, you should use the word formula. And those of you who are, 1st grade through 5th grade, you can decide whether you use formula, mathematical equation, whatever is comfortable in the terminology of math that you're comfortable with, that you're teaching at that level. Now let's go back to our budget sheet. You remember I had the budget sheet, I created the title, I created a column, and with these columns I actually put titles, and then I created some rows. And you'll remember I had all of the months out here. I basically deleted everything past April so we can just focus our eyes in this area. In January I tracked the budget, and what I'd like to do is let's go to February, and let's say our rent goes up to $800, say we moved. Our gas goes to $200 because we moved further out into maybe a nice district, but it's farther away from the school that we teach at. Phone, we're on the phone much more. In order to find that particular nice apartment, we had to, call realtors, call, home agencies. The car insurance, it goes up to $90. Medical bills, let's say we get sick. It has not been a good month. We got some prescription, and it's $1,100. Okay, so basically I typed that in here. If I wanted to copy all this, what I can do is I can basically, with my mouse, click here, and then hold down with the left button, and basically go pull down all the way to the last number, and then I can right click on copy, and then I can go ahead and click to the location that I would like to paste things, right click, and click paste. Actually, many times what Excel wants you to do is make sure you paste in the same number of cells. So I'll basically highlight those cells, I'll right click, and then I'll click paste. And it copies it there. And then let's say, we didn't like that apartment, we wanted to move a little further out. Okay, yeah, it was a little nicer. Gas gets a little bit more expensive. Our phone bill this month was just horrible at $300. Car insurance is staying nicely at about $90. And medical bills, let's say it goes down to $1,000. Okay, what I want to show you now is you can add up all these numbers right here. Of course, you may want to ask your students, why don't you find out how Excel adds those numbers? Go ahead and put the sum of all of these numbers in this cell right here. And this cell is the cell that's highlighted. It's B because B is highlighted here, and 12 is highlighted here. go ahead and put the sum, that is the addition of all these numbers, right here. Okay, so they may go ahead and go here and say, okay, let's type in 500, that's the first number. Let's do a plus 80, plus 100, that's the third number, plus 100, that's the fourth number, plus 120, that's the fifth number. Okay, and then they go ahead and they hit return. And when you hit return, it goes to the next cell, and they look at this, what happened? It didn't add up everything. Well, this is where Excel requires that you know some of its nomenclature. Okay, let's use words elementary students can understand. Excel has its own language. And if you just type in this, it doesn't know that you're creating a complete mathematical equation. A mathematical equation usually has equal sign. Like for instance, if you open up a calculator like this, and you do 500 plus 80, it doesn't do anything. It just sits there. You have to click the equal sign in order for it to add things up. Well, in Excel, you also have to put an equal sign at the beginning. So you'll notice right here, it's replicated up here in the formula bar. You can either type here or you can type up here. I'm going to go ahead and just add an equal sign at the very beginning, and then I'm going to hit return. And look what happened. It added everything up together, and it put the sum total here. And so you put the equal sign at the beginning with Excel. You remember with the calculator, you actually put the equal sign, you click the equal sign at the end. You do 9 plus 6, and then you hit equals. Or that was 9 times 6. Not so with Excel. You actually hit the equal sign first, and then you write your formula. Now, Excel also has a way so that you don't even have to hit the plus signs. And that is, you can actually just add up the different cell numbers. So that's really nice. And a very simple way is just to type equal, sum, and then what you can do is you can put in a parentheses and then the cell number E6. Actually, we want to do this one right here, so it's B6. And when you type B6, it highlights the cell that's B6 for you. And we want to do all the way to B10. So what you can do is you can do a colon B10 and then in parentheses, and then you hit return. And it adds it up for you. Okay, now some of you are saying, well, can you just go ahead and add up the individual cells? Sure. Let's do equals. Let's try B6. It highlights it there. And let's do plus B7. It highlights it there. And we hit return. And it adds up those two cells. And so you can either reference the number that's in here, or you can reference the cell reference. Now, I realize both of those two ways are very different than how you would write something on a piece of paper. But as you're reading through, start to get comfortable with this mechanism of creating a particular formula. Now, it's very easy once you understand what's happening there for you actually to find the sum much easier. Let me show you. I showed you the hard way. Now I want to show you the easy way. You can go ahead and highlight all of this here. Then just go to Formula. And then you can click on this sigma, which means sum. And you just click it, and it adds everything for you. And we can do that to all of these. We highlight, we click sum. We highlight, we click sum. And you'll notice when I highlight and click sum, it adds the sum to the bottom. Highlight, and I click sum here. And it adds all of the numbers down the right. And so I want you to get comfortable with being able to take a set of numbers and writing the formula. If you click here, it'll actually show you what the formula looks like right here. So you remember, we did the sum here. If we click here, it will show us this little formula. So it's important that you see how we did it at the beginning so you understand, what does this mean? Well, it says equal, it says sum, and then it has in parentheses the range of cells that are provided there. Okay, and so this is a very nice way of adding things. Oops, looks like it. If you ever mess up here, go ahead and just erase what's there. Do a highlight again, and then do a sum. And of course, it puts things after what you've highlighted. And so let me go ahead and highlight just those, click sum, and it looks like it's not putting the sum here. So let me go ahead and erase this. And this is excellent because you'll be in front of the class at some time and you'll be trying to do things, and Excel won't work exactly how you want it to work. And so what you have to do is you do what I do. You just do it again. You erase what you did formerly, then you click sum. And there you go, and it works. This becomes very powerful for you to use. Like for instance, let me just show you something really quick. Let's type in let's see, let's take January, February, March, and April. And let's just type in the sums. In January, we spent $820. February, we spent $2390. March, we spent $2390. And in April, we spent $2500. Okay? You're going to learn this, but you can then highlight this. And then what you can do is you can go to one of these tabs, and one is called Insert. And then what you can do is you can click on the chart. It gives you a recommended chart. And you can just click on OK. And it creates a chart automatically for you. Now, why is this powerful? Once you begin to take numbers and you put a representation through a graph, all kinds of exciting things start to happen with your students. You can tell them, look at my budget for this particular year, and look at my spending. Look at how little I spent in January and what happened in February. Then you teach your students to ask questions like, what happened in February that caused you to spend more money? It went from here all the way up to here. Well, then you can say, something happened in my life. I moved to a new apartment. And so that's how data starts to translate to the practical, real-life scenarios of your students. And once they begin to take numbers, format them, and put them in a pictorial realm, it becomes outstanding. So you've learned a little bit of charts. This is not a chart lesson. Actually, it's not until 2 more lessons, but I wanted to give you a little preview of what you can have to look forward to. Okay, great. Continue on to the next part of the lesson.